Alright, cool. Let's be real. Let's be 100% honest. Let's not pretend like the last few years of the MCU have been good. Like the recent lineup has run its full spectrum from stuff so bad it feels like it's crawled out of a blender to like forgettable filler with all the punch of a slap from a pop star half his size to movies that were merely fine while wasting what should have been massive like superhero events. I know this is not because I'm guessing, but because I actually pay attention. And because every single time one of these projects are dropped, it's the same tired old phrase, oh, the MCU's back. Back from where? It's been in the trenches since what, Endgame? If everything's supposed to be going so well, why does it need a comeback tour all the time? You know what I'm saying? It's the cinematic equivalent of a band insisting every new album is a return to form. Eventually, you have to give it up. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You had your time, but it's over. But anyway, there's still one hope left on the horizon. One film that could, in theory, erase years of box office disappointment, brand erosion, and audience fatigue in one swing. I'm not talking about Spider-Man either, but I'm watching Brand New Day though. You know what I mean? The Spider-Man series has let us down during, after the Infinity Saga. But however, the one shot to save the MCU, you know what I mean, from the greatness of the Infinity Saga era, and proving the MCU still is the number one superhero franchise in the world. That film is the Avengers Doomsday. Everything about how it's been handled suggests Marvel is doing a madness to make sure it succeeds. And I'll give them credit. They're not holding back. The cast list alone is longer than most people's group chats. The marketing has leaned probably a bit too much into nostalgia, bringing back familiar faces, beloved faces, and giving them a room to breathe instead of drowning everything in the usual quick factory dialogue Marvel's been criticized for. You know what I mean? And then there was like Comic-Con a couple months ago, or weeks, whatever, where Marvel was basically the only studio that managed to generate real buzz. Because let's face it, nobody's losing sleep over Supergirl. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? At this point, Marvel's going all in on Doomsday. Every marketing lever is being pulled, and even though my instincts is to be skeptical of the hype circles, there's something in me that's like, maybe this one might land. Maybe the MCU can revive itself. Like, I keep telling myself not to fall for the trailers, for the online speculation, the rumors, the fan reaction, but here I am, you know me, cautiously optimistic. After years of like underwhelming streaming spin-offs, storyline, abandoned midstream thin characters, false messages, and an overload of poorly written female leads, it is possible that Marvel finally is getting its house in order. But it's a big maybe though, especially considering this movie's villain has almost built up, has had like no build up after the whole Kang situation fell apart. Jesus Christ, Jonathan Majors really can't catch a break, bro. You know what I mean? And neither can the multiverse saga, which was supposed to be anchored around a threat that essentially evaporated overnight, leaving the franchise scrambling to justify years and years of setup with basically none of the payoff. And financially, this is a mountain to climb. Sure, listen, let's be real. Doomsday is getting $1 billion in net worth, box office. You know what I mean? Let's if they don't get $1 billion in box office, Disney is gonna look at Kevin Feige like, yo, what gone? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, it could inch toward $2 billion by the end of his run, but listen, even then, actual probability is still like a question mark. Marvel already have confirmed like this is their most expensive production ever for a movie. And the figures are mad. Like RDJ, who's returning, it's gonna be what? Marvel gonna be paying him what, 100 million? 100 million. I don't know if it's for Doomsday or both Doomsday and Secret Wars, but 100 million. And the Russo brothers signed for like 8 million for both Doomsday and Secret Wars. And that's not even including the rest of the enormous cast. You know what I mean? And all the other costs for production and rare tear. You know what I mean? And that's before any single marketing dollar has been spent, you know? And the campaign alone is shaping up to like dwarf Endgame. We're talking about a level of spending that makes studios like shake. Like, if this flops, you man us will, like, as a company, we could go down, innit? But obviously Disney's so big that they're fine. You know what I'm saying? But listen, make no mistake about it, yeah, this is a full-scale financial gamble, unlike anything in this industry I've seen before. Like, it's go big or go home. You know what I mean? Like, it's gone to the extreme. Like, no other studio on the planet could realistically throw this kind of money around. And when you're spending upwards of, $500 million to finish a film, you need a massive overhaul to even break even. Because listen, these industries still need to make money. And you know what I mean? About the industry like math somewhere around like 1.5 billion globally before it starts like turning real profit. So if it don't hit 1.5 and above, bro, you know what I mean? Then I'm gonna lose money, fam. You know what I'm saying? And that listen, and that's a generous estimate as well. Assuming there's no like creative accounting. Well, let's be honest, it's a big assumption. You know what I mean? Like this is Hollywood we're talking about. It has a big track record of fudging budget numbers to manufacture success and headlines. You know what I mean? Studios have got like really good at making films look a lot like a hit on paper while quietly eating a loss behind the scenes. There's no reasons to think this franchise is suddenly above that. But here's the twist though. Profit might not even be the point when it comes to Doomsday. Yeah, sure, if Marvel get 3 billion, they'll celebrate. But this movie isn't really about being built as a cash grab. You know what I mean? It's really like a long-term investment in in Marvel's, the MCU's credibility. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to attempt to undo half a decade of post-Endgame drift, to win back core fan bases that showed up for every release without question and prove the franchise still has the creative juices left. Because the last thing you want to end up like that is like DCU, bro. You see, them man are struggling, fam. You know what I mean? They need all the goodwill they can get. Because what comes next is a genuine reset. And the goodwill isn't something you can manufacture with a marketing budget alone. It has to be earned back one movie at a time. So like this is shaping up to be the final chapter for the MCU as it currently exists. A full reboot is probably going to come after Secret Wars, a new era which can't lean on nostalgia, legacy characters, all the decades of built-up loyalty to carry it. What needs is momentum. And frankly, timing makes sense. The MCU is old now. Let's be real. It's been around, since 08? Iron Man 1. Old enough that people who watched the first Iron Man and fought as kids are raising the kids of their own, bro. You know what I'm saying? Kids with zero built-in attachment to this universe, the next generation need their own version of this world. And this apparently is where that begins. It's an odd position for the franchise to be in. Old enough to need reinvention, but not yet old enough to be treated as a relic. The way we look at, the early, James Bond films or the original Superman movies. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? All of which is to say, enormous amount is riding on Avengers Doomsday. Not just Marvel's future, but arguably the future of superhero as a genre. If this flops, Doomsday flops, not only will it ruin the MCU Marvel, it will ruin DC, bro. Superheroes will be dead. To be fair, the only real winners in this, low-key, will be Sony with Spider-Man. They'll be like, bro, don't, listen, Sony are kind of hoping this flops, They can take back Spider-Man and be like, yo, you men are flopping out here, you know what I mean? Disney and Warner Brothers with DC, yo, I'm going to take that back. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, they can't reunite all this interest. It's hard to see what else they can do. Right now, it genuinely feels like a coin flip. This could be a bloated, overstuffed misfire of one of the greatest comebacks, in blockbuster history. And honestly, I couldn't tell which way I'll bet. Both outcomes feel, plausible, which is precisely what makes this like so fascinating. How you say the word? Fascinating. Yeah, fascinating to watch. In like real time. But like, despite the cautiousness, I'll admit I'm quietly rooting for it. Listen, I love a good redemption arc. You know what I mean? Every good redemption arc needs a strong final act. And this could be it. I want Marvel to have actually learned something from the last 5 years of misstep. And I want them to remember how to make the kind of movies that get people genuinely excited to go to the theatre and talk about it for weeks afterwards. And I want the characters that define a generation of moviegoers to go get the send-off they deserve. Maybe that's just hype talking, or maybe I'm getting soft in my age, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pressure, man. But listen, you got RDJ back and you got the Russo brothers. Them man they have not flopped once. The worst movie is Endgame. And that's flipping Endgame, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like that's their worst movie. They've given you what? Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. Banger after banger after banger after banger. So Kevin Feige's rolling the dice. They need their main two guys back in RDJ, you know what I mean, and Chris Evans. And they need, you know what I mean, the brothers, the Russo brothers. You know what I'm saying? So, man, listen, man. We'll find soon enough whether, the hope was justified or whether I fell for the same marketing machine I claim to see right through. So hopefully, Doomsday's a success. Thanks for watching. I'm out.